We're back. It's been 3 years. We are back on pilgrimage. I am yelling because I'm that excited. I cannot believe it. The track's right over there. The biggest one we've ever had as far as the number of people that have come, but the idea is the same. You get on Spa, you get on the Nurburgring.
It's basically for every car enthusiast.
This is an automotive experience that you can indulge in with like-minded individuals. You don't have to be a born and bred race car driver.
You get good food, you get good hotels right next to the track. Everything planned for you, and it was such a fun track experience that I've never experienced before.
The big part of this trip is who's on the trip, all the people. And so each time we get a different group of people, so you kind of get a different dynamic. But this was a wonderful trip. We had a great time on the road tour together, 2 track days. It's just been a ton of fun.
We are standing at Rouge, walking down the hill. It's hallowed ground every time I come here. It's so special, and I just love it.
I think that Spa was my favorite track. It was a little bit easier to manage because it is a shorter track, but it's still like really interesting. You know, it's a Formula One track. It was super cool to drive on it and experience that.
Before this, I only had very limited track experience, limited experience as far as cars overall. I got to be in a M240 on Spa and on the ring. Driving partner Scott and I, we really got after it, really got the most of the tires, went through 4 tanks of fuel.
On this trip with an instructor beside you telling you, this is where you're braking, this is where you're accelerating, this is where you turn in, this is what you're watching for. That's what you need, because if I'm just by myself, I would have crashed in the first corner like somebody did on the ring today, not part of our group, but crashing on that first corner because you don't know where to brake and you're tentative. You can't be tentative, you have to be confident in what you're doing, and that's what that instructor gives you.
Riding around with an instructor was absolutely invaluable. I hadn't been on track once previously, but then after going around, grab a different instructor. They're going to have some different notes for you. Try them later again also to see how you're progressing, where you are, get some notes at the end.
Prior to this trip, I had 2 days at an autocross, but that's not very significant. So essentially, I was starting at square zero. And because of my instructor, I feel my progression throughout the trip was a lot quicker than it would have been had I not had an instructor.
I think my favorite part of this trip was definitely the road tour. I got to get onto the Autobahn in a 718 Cayman S. I've got a 981 Cayman back home, and the comparison was a lot different than I was expecting it to be, but a hell of a lot of fun.
I did not expect to see all the Caymans on the road tour. My favorite piece was the comparison between different generations of Caymans. And I was like, I want to be in that piece. I want to try out the different Caymans. And I get a chance to do that during the road tour. That was amazing. So I started with the 718 Cayman S, and that was light and that was fun. There was a boost button that you push in, and then you get 20 seconds of overboost. I was like, whoa, this is really fast. Then we jumped to the Cayman GTS, and that was a track prep car, and that was just awesome. Finally ended with the GT4, and that was my dream car, and I just couldn't believe that I got to drive a GT4. And so I just, it's beyond my wildest imaginations.
M2 on the Autobahn was a hell of a lot of fun, so I need more of it, that's for sure.
The Hyundai i30, I loved it. It was a great car, and the nicest thing about that car is it reminds you that you don't have to be a millionaire or cars are accessible at every level, and I think that's it's kind of the everyday driver message, and it was obvious. We had great cars at all levels, and that one was my favorite.
Favorite part of the road tour was the joy of the i30N. Just the way that you can corner with it. It's got a trick diff that just pulls you through. It doesn't drag, and it's just the front wheel drive, the fun car that's a bit tarted up is more fun on the road than you might think, and some of the more track focused cars were not as fun on the road tour for me because you're only pushing them about 30%. Whereas with the i30N, you could really have some fun with it, ring it out, and enjoy all of the features and luxuries of a regular car. So I found the i30N just incredible on the road tour.
think in Bernkastel, the best thing that I enjoyed was actually lunch. I forget the name, but we stopped off at this really small restaurant and it was really, really good.
But not only that, you get to experience these fantastic views that you just don't get in America. I think the scenery in Europe, in Germany and Belgium specifically, outclass almost anything I've experienced in the US. You get to see the most beautiful green, rolling countryside. You get to see the most characteristic and charming architecture you've ever seen. So the road tour was very enjoyable in more ways than one.
Yeah, my favorite car on the trip was definitely the 718 Cayman S. Had a lot of fun on the twisties, chasing Ted in an I-30. Just really loved the PDK and the Boxer. I was right at home as a WRX person, so if you can't tell, beard, yeah.
The regular stock cars, we've got a GT4 and we've got, Caymans and we've got BMW M cars, and they're all fantastic on their own. As a very, very enthusiastic trackhead, I really appreciated the setup and the gear that were in those cars, and I did not think that it would make that much of a difference. It's amazing what just some suspension and exhaust and some tires can really do to a car. That by far blew me away more than any of the high-end exotics that might have shown up.
And on the third day is the Nurburgring, which is an amazing track on its own, but very, very scary. But it was safe still with the instructor next to you.
I really believe my favorite track was Nurburgring. Nurburgring kept me on my toes and made sure that I didn't get full of myself.
Being on the Nürburgring with Ted and the GT4 RS was the experience of a lifetime. You're pushing G's that shouldn't be possible. You're braking with G's that shouldn't be possible. And to see that limit, that was worth everything, just those 2 laps with Ted.
But it's not really a track, it's a really long road. I don't know, it'll take me years or multiple times being here before I'd feel comfortable to call it a track.
The surprise for me this trip is that with the road tour in previous years, we've done it where everyone's alone in the car. And this time we paired up a little bit, so we got a little bit of time being a passenger as well as a driver, and being able to be in the car with someone else and talking about the cars and the roads and the trip while we're on the road tour just was even more fun.
I think what surprised me the most on this trip is that you definitely have to use a handbrake on a hill.
I would say definitely come on this trip. It has been such a good experience. Got to experience so many different cars and driving them in ways that I had never driven them before. So I would absolutely recommend it to anyone.
Do it. This is a bucket list trip. It's a trip of a lifetime, but it's not a once in a lifetime trip. You have to come back.
I need more of it, that's for sure.
It's just a trip that you're really going to like, and it's going to leave an impactful impression on your automotive psyche. It's one of those things that it definitely belongs on a bucket list, and anybody who doesn't know about this should, spread the word.
Check up on your passports, folks, but certainly well worth the wait. Paid for it twice, went on it once, 100% worth it, hands down, no regrets.
Air France lost my luggage. That's why I'm wearing sweatpants right now, but it's fine because now I have all of my underwear and socks that are Nürburgring themed, so I say it's a win for everybody.
You've now heard from just some of the people on the trip, and this has been our largest trip ever. And what we love is not just the experience, but the discovery, and that's what you've just heard. You've heard people sharing what they wanted out of the trip, and they got a lot, they got more. And it's experience, but we come away as better drivers, and we come away as friends, and that's the entire point of the trip, is just to share what Todd and I have learned over the years, and we get to do this. We cannot thank our friends at RSR enough, because they are amazing hosts, so thank you to RSR, everybody there, and especially Ron Simons. He is such a host, and he just wants to play around, so he's been taking people for hot laps, and he loves driving, so come on this trip with us.
And if you don't leave this day with a smile on your face, I don't know how to help you, because this is what we do. Every year you have to come because it's awesome.